Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and today what we're going to be doing is working on a snowblower. And the issue on the snowblower, the customers, is there's a brass gear in front of the auger drive. And we went ahead and did the video. Come to find out, the audio wasn't working. So no, I wasn't trying to edit Claude out and his swearing. We just didn't have any audio. So I'm going to do a voiceover with that. And then I got to thinking, for you guys that are just starting out that may have never had to have this done or to do it, probably the best bet would be to go back to the beginning of what we did, and that's taking the cover off and then what to expect when you take the 4 bolts to split them apart. So I did a short video on that will be towards the front, but stay tuned. Alright, so what we did was, the first thing you want to do is take these 2 bolts off, and that holds this plastic cover on, and just pop them off. Once they're off, you can roll the belts off if you want. It's up to you. You have 4 bolts, 2 on each side, that hold the front. You'll tip it down, and you have this spring is connected. When it rolls forward, you have the 1 belt that you keep on that, and then the rest of it I'll walk you through on the video. But you want to keep things in the order you take them off, so you know how to put them back on. So let's go to the video. So Claude is getting ready to tear this apart to get it the brass gear. First thing he's going to do is he's going to take that pulley off the back where the belt is. That's got to come off first. Sorry about the audio. I'm going to say I should have checked that. But he's doing all the heavy lifting. He's the one that set it up there all by himself. So you take that bolt out, and then that pulley, and there's also a piece right there that comes with it that helps lock it in. Take that right off and set it right with that, so you know where it is. Now what you're doing is you have these 2 bolts that are on the side. And they're what holds your auger in place. So once you have that unit will pull out through the front, which Claude will show you here in just a minute. No, I'm not pushing, pulling, lifting. I'm behaving myself. But it's located in that cast piece right dead center of the augers. This customer here, we had to replace the gear before because he got a stone stuck, and that's what happened this time. Was it stuck, and the first thing it's going to give, or hopefully will give, is that auger. You have shear bolts on that should have worked as well. But for some reason the shear bolts didn't shear, but it took the brass gear right out of it. But there's clips on each end that you have to take out with a screwdriver. Because I'm working on just trying to get the the shear bolts and their clips off, so because they have to come off as well. But Claude just popping off the clip on the end of it, and that whole piece will come right off. and then there's a bushing in there too that you want to take right with it. But set everything down so that you can put it back the way you found it. So you want a little bit of room. Claude, he's done this so many times that he doesn't need to. But then you got to pop out all the shear bolts so that each one of them will come off, and the pieces that separate them as well. I went ahead and I already ordered the brass gear for it. Hopefully that'll be in here for a day or two. But I popped the clip off this side. Claude's getting the remaining shear bolts out, so everything is going to pull off just the same way it did on the other side. I'm not sure if they have to go back in the same way. We never done it any other way except for put it back the way we found it. I'm not sure if you got them turned around whether they would actually pick up or not. Because you would think you could put them on backwards. Maybe one of you guys know, Jason, if there's only a certain forward rotation or not. Like I say, we've always set them so we know right is right, left is left, and which ones went where. So now he's finally putting me to work, something I can do. I'm getting my impact with a 3/8 socket to take the bolts all the way around that cast housing. Claude's got to learn that where the camera is. But there's, I think, 7 bolts that go around that housing. You want to take every one of them out. So once they're out, see, we've had this apart before and used, see, I told him, let the camera so you guys can see what we're doing. But we silicone the case and put grease inside of it. It's got a grease fitting on it. And the customer was told to grease it, you know, a couple times a year. Well, this is where you need to just take your time. And then where that brass gear is, there's actually a keyway underneath that. We've seen where the keyway would go. But a lot of times if the keyway goes, it breaks that gear and the whole housing is just all smashed to pieces. But in this case, the housing is still good. It's just the brass gear. And that's all there is to it, except for just waiting for the other brass gear to come in and put it back the same direction that we took it apart. But see, that's the keyway he's pointing at. And that, like I say, we've seen it where it sheared that keyway, but it usually busts the gear in half and it will blow that case apart. But we're looking at everything else, and everything else looks really good on it. So again, like I say, I ordered the brass gear 2 days ago because we knew you could hear the brass gear. Once you try rolling it backwards, if it makes a lot of grinding noise and your impeller isn't turning in the unit that right there, then you've got a gear that is chewed the teeth right off from it. And he's got some wear and tear on the side of that case. The other thing you want to watch out for, or watch for, are these fins that are on that impeller, is they'll get bent and it won't throw the snow as well. So that's something to look at before you put it all back together, is are the impellers bent or not? If they are, you can usually tweak them back, but those there look pretty good. You can see where they're getting wore from picking up stones, sand, and everything else. So that's how you do it, guys. You know, I can do a video of putting it all back together, and I probably will. But this is a tear down. Let's call it part 1 of replacing the brass gear. Alright, so I'm going to do a close-up on what I'm talking about. See, this brass gear, the teeth are just about all gone. That is junk. Here is the keyway in the shaft that I was telling you about. And then you have this grease fitting. But as you can see inside, where that's starting to get some wear and tear. But no, Jason, if you know different, we try to keep them so they go back in the same way. Right is right, left is left. And there's 5 bolts in the case, is what I took out. And that's with a 3/8. Make sure you keep all your bushings and everything and know exactly where they go inside those augers. So on that note, you guys have a great day and stay tuned for part 2.